Welcome to Woman of Influence. I am truly honored to be here today to do something that in my almost 10 years of podcasting has never been done on this show before, and that is to have an enriched and beautiful conversation with a group of incredible women. So this is my own version of a red table talk, call it a Woman of Influence table talk, if you will. And I am just honored today to be in community with the amazing Amy Porterfield.
Hello there.
Stacy Tuschl.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Leanne Lopez Mosley.
Thank you for having me.
Adley Kinsman.
Honored to be here.
And Ashley Brock.
I'm so excited. It's gonna be great.
So we're just going to kick it off. This is really a question for all of you. I would love to know, when did you first realize that you had cultivated true influence, and what did it cost you?
Kicking off with a big one.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't ease in at all.
I go in.
Good.
That's really good.
That is a good one.
I will say you can't have a public life in any semblance of the word public and be a people pleaser and not grow really, really thick skin. For us, when we started making videos, and we went very quickly from 20 million views a week to over 1 billion views a month, over 200 million views a week. And even if you think you're representing yourself the way that you always dreamed, and you're acting out of the utmost integrity, and you're trying to please everybody and make something that you're really, really proud of, you're gonna get shredded in the comments. And early on, I started being destroyed by that. My whole identity was rocked because I was proud of the person that I was and what I had built myself up from. And so then I started paying attention to the comments, and I started adapting myself to what everybody else wanted to see, that version of Adley that they had in their minds. And I put something out that followed all the rules. And very quickly, I would see comments that would say, go kill yourself, right next to one that says, this is the best piece of content you've ever made. And in that moment, I realized, you have to follow your gut and your true North Star and your identity, whatever that means to you. Not that you don't have permission to change and evolve and change your mind, but I learned that you cannot be a people pleaser and have any form of real influence.
Ooh, that's good.
So true. I feel like for me, it's like influence is always more reflected to me when I'm in person than through online. I think sometimes even when you have a following, when people are engaging with your content, when you're getting the feedback, good, bad, and ugly, you still can feel a little bit like, is there anyone out there? Are people actually seeing this? Do people actually know who I am? Like, especially the right people. And I think for me, whenever I have done, whether it be speaking on other people's stages or hosting my own events, I think it's so humbling because it feels almost easy to sell things online. Whereas when you're filling a room with human beings and you're asking people to get on planes, trains, and automobiles to come and see you in person, that for me, I think in November of last year, when I hosted my second bigger event that I've done, it was such a moment to stand in a room and see all of these people and think, oh my gosh, they actually went so far out of their way so that they could be here. And they ultimately came, regardless of who else I'm sharing the stage with, they came for me. And that feels like such a moment of reflection around what you've actually built. And you're able to receive the feedback. Because obviously, thank goodness, the trolls are not in the room. So hallelujah for that. But the people that are in the room, you genuinely have transformed or touched their life in some way, shape, or form. And being able, I wish I would have been wearing a mic the entire time, because I feel like the love that people poured into me just by sharing the way that I'd impacted and influenced them was outweighed any other reason for doing a live event. And that for me was a really important reminder of why it's so important to get yourself in the physical room, because you're just able to see, I think it's a cleaner mirror than sometimes the online space can ever be.
Yeah. And did that, what did it cost you to kind of get to that place, to feel whether that was a worthiness piece, an ownership piece, a standard piece?
Yeah, I mean, I think that worthiness was something that, I think it's so easy to meet women like all of us where we're at now, but I had such low self-esteem and low self-worth growing up. And I think that even as I became more successful, I think I still did the people pleasing. I still like chameleoned myself into what I thought other people needed me to be. And I think that being willing to be disliked, being willing to be misunderstood, you know, I am my natural way of communicating is very audacious, and I love that about myself. But it also, the shadow of that is that you can be very misunderstood by people. And so for me, it definitely cost me, you know, friendships, relationships, clients. Like I feel like as I've even changed and evolved, even the evolution of like starting with Rich Queen, of like rebranding from the Productivity Queen to Rich Queen, and then bringing in Soft Girl Millions, like there was a lot of people who were like, there's nothing soft about you. That doesn't make any sense to me. And they were super resistant to like, I don't think that's aligned to like who you actually are. But again, being true to like your most authentic self and being like, actually it is, because for me, Soft Girl Millions is not about baking sourdough or like frilly dresses or going to Pilates. It's actually about being fully expressed as a woman. It's actually about being the most audacious version of you and the soft, vulnerable part of you that's willing to share the hardest things that are to talk about to other people. So for me, it costs you to be able to stand on a stage, or even to be able to sell an event, to show up online and keep showing up. It costs you the shedding all of those layers that you've been holding on to that have probably kept you safe. And it becomes kind of fun after you keep doing it for a while, even though you have to remind yourself of that every time you go through it.
Yeah. And that actually makes me think of this idea of, for each of you in your audience, when you think about your communities, do you think that they really realize that? Even if they say that conceptually, that they understand that, do you think that they truly realize how much courage and risk of putting yourself out there, of being fully expressed, of being misunderstood, of being judged, of being, who does she think she is? All of those things. Do you think that they realize that is the cost to actually get what it is that they say that they want?
There's no way that they can. No one could have explained to me like the friends that I would see go out and have dinner without me. Like no one can see the challenging conversations you have to have with a teammate when you're like, this was your friend that like worked for me, and you're letting them go like that. There's no way you can describe it. But I think when you have people that go before you and you see it, you're like, okay, this is possible. And you just like, I've changed my mindset where now I expect things to be hard. So when something's actually like kind of smooth, you're like, whoa, this is weird. So I think I've tried to change my expectations to think that everything at the next level would be harder. And yes, there were friends that were lost. You lose your comfort zone, of course. But I think there's no way you can really prepare for some of the hard things like the comments or the friends.
I agree with you, and I take my role as someone who does have to go before them. So I help women build businesses, and so I'm doing what they want to do. So I feel, you said when you were on that stage, there was this reflection, and that also reminded me there's a huge responsibility, and I think you were alluding to that as well, where I would have a woman say to me, Amy, I quit my job because of you. That is heavy. Sometimes I'm like, whoa. That's a lot. But that's the whole goal. But there's such a heavy responsibility with that. And I think we need to talk about that so the women that are following us that want to do what we do know how heavy that is and how important that responsibility is to say, the content I create means something. I'm not just going to churn it out. Someone is sitting in their home thinking, I'm going to quit my job and start a business. And Amy's telling me to do it this way, and they're following that. That's a lot. And so I take that responsibility very seriously, and everything I do is so intentional because I know they're watching me because they're going to do it too.
Well, speaking of people watching you, earlier this year, you decided to make a change in your business.
Just a little one.
Just a little change, which as your friend, I mean, we had been talking about that for months.
Yes.
And it made so much sense to me because I knew the intention behind it, the alignment behind it, the integrity behind it, where it was that you were going. And so you made the announcement, and then, we're all moving about as we do. And there was a corner of the internet that lost their flipping mind.
They did.
So what is your thought on that? Did that surprise you? Were you ready for that? And how, when it comes to that responsibility piece, I think that there is a level and a standard of which you are held to, Amy Porterfield. Do you like being held to that standard, and how do you hold it?
Ooh, such a good question. So I was very surprised. I think that might be a little naive, but when I announced I was going to retire a program that's made me $60 million and still doing well, and retire it for a new coaching program, you're right. Some people lost their minds. The saddest part is it was mostly women. And so that's where that part kind of hit me in my heart a little bit, like, let's not do that to each other. Right. But beyond that, yes, it surprised me. And then I took a beat and I thought, okay, what is going on here? And number one, I explained why I did it. And I'll explain a little bit. I believe in this idea of earning your elevation, meaning doing the reps, staying in your lane, changing lives, being responsible for what you're doing. And at a certain point, you grow and you change and you earn your elevation to do something different. And I have done this for 17 years and I was ready to move on from something. I've grown, my content has grown, my audience has moved on. And so I wanted to move with them. And so I spoke my truth, but the feedback was I wasn't telling the truth. Courses must not be working anymore. Our industry is failing. Launches don't work. Webinars don't work. I said none of that. And so I thought about it, Julie, for a while and realized they're hearing that because that's what they're thinking in their head. Amy, tell me it's not working because it's hard right now.
For me, validate the fact that I already didn't think this was working.
Yes, validate it. And if you're doing it, it must mean this, even though you just said what it meant, but I'm not going to believe a word you said. Although I've trusted you and followed you forever, I'm going to believe this because I need to be validated for something else. And when I realized that, I had compassion. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't mad. And to Adley's point, I've done this for so long, I finally have thick enough skin. I wasn't bothered by it. It was like, what's happening? So I wasn't bothered by it at all. And I had so much compassion for the women that they're struggling right now and they're looking for a reason why it's not working. And so I had to come back to that and just love them with all my heart because they didn't love me in that moment. Yeah.
Well, and Stacy and Ashley, I would love your take on this because when I think of the tactics and kind of behind the scenes, you with ads, you with team and operations, we from what Amy just shared, I mean, it's very common for a lot of people that are in the building phase or in the growing phase to want that validation of, well, see, I knew that ads didn't work. I knew that operations didn't work. I knew that systems didn't work. I knew that funnels didn't work, Leanne. Like, it just doesn't work. Why do you think that is always the default mode? And then is there a way? How do we, as an industry, as leaders, as a collective, try to flip that script when, we can't make someone, we can't bring a horse to water, so to speak. But from an ad standpoint, from an op standpoint, and then Leanne, I would love your take too from a funnel standpoint. Like, how do you try to flip that script and convince without convincing?
Yeah, I do this with my team. It's so much easier to pick an external reason, something that's not working. Because if it is courses, if it is ads, great, it's not my fault. I don't have to do anything, right? True. So whenever my team blames something else or blames the leads this week, the leads are bad, this is bad, I'm like, hold up. The leads are what they are. You can be like, somebody said to me on my sales team, they're kind of just like freebie people this week. They all want freebies. I said, well, be so good. You can turn a freebie person into a paid client. Boom. Yeah. And she was like, ooh, I felt that. Like, yeah, okay, so let's go. So internal, right? We don't want, the hard thing is finding internal. But when you find internal, when you are for sure the problem, you can fix it and be the solution. So go figure out what you can control, even if you have a bad week in your webinar or a bad week with your ads. It's like, okay, well, there are some things out of my control, but there's a whole lot in my control right now.
Yeah. Is it like Newton's law that says for everything there's an equal and opposite? So it's just reminding yourself that yes, you're going to have a bad week, you're going to have a good week. There's bad ads, there's good ads. There's bad funnels, there's good funnels. Someone knows what they're doing on the other side, and just being, I think it's, Leanne said it a little bit earlier, I think it's just being willing to be bad at something long enough and saying, I will figure it out because someone else has,
Nobody wants to be a beginner again. Especially when you've excelled at anything in life. There's this need, I think especially as women, to be consistent to what you told the world you were going to do once. When I was a singer here for 8 years right on Music Row, and I was miserable at it, and I saw the ceiling, and I was always going to be waiting for permission from a suit behind a desk to give me permission to entertain. And when was it pivoting? Was it elevation that these videos are taking off? And then we started making 18 videos a day. Then we pivot to building Viralish and building a company around that. Both of those major turns, people are like, no, you're a singer. No, you're the silly girl on the internet that makes those videos that are really way too long. That wastes 3 minutes of everyone's life. You're not a business owner. You're not that. But with elevation, to your point, so at some point when you do something for so long, I'm burnt out of making those videos, 18 a day for 4 years straight. And the brands are knocking down our door. We've grown 45 million followers in multiple niches. The only logical next step is to build a business around that container and go into the next elevated phase of your life, because you earned the right, because you showed that you stand on this undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are, and you are the best fit to serve the person right behind you who feels stuck in trying to do the same thing of storytelling, of funnels, of ads.
It's so true that why do we seem to think, or why do people want to tell us what we're supposed to be? You're not that, you're not that girl. Or I think we need to be really careful with that, because I remember even as simple as I started a new newsletter and I got emails like, this isn't you. And it was 100% me. Then I thought, oh, well, what does this mean?
I love when people try and tell you who you are.
Who you are, that's what I mean. And so I think we get a lot of that, which comes back to having the thickest skin. If I could tell my baby self when I started this business, just don't care as much as you think you should. Just don't care as much. Care what you're doing, but let them talk. I think my success would have shot up so much faster if I just let them talk and just do it.
I also think though, there's like, I think sometimes we want everything, where there's a light, there's a shadow, and the bigger the light, the bigger the shadow. And it comes with the territory. So for me, I think I used to almost wear like my responsibility cape to a point that kept me very capped.
Oh, good point.
In terms of undercharging, because I wanted to make sure that everything was very affordable. In terms of actually really seeing the shadowy bullshit in our industry and wanting to be a lighthouse for change. And so feeling very responsible of proving to people that there are amazing like women with heart in this industry. And so if I can just make things more palatable, more affordable, somehow I'm going to change things. And that doesn't change anything. And actually, I felt the shift in myself around my responsibility actually is the being willing to be misunderstood, actually is being willing to be the villain in somebody's story, because that's their lesson that they need to learn. And it's never about me. It's never you being willing to be misunderstood, to be disliked, to be told that's not you, whilst really having that unshakable self-worth around this is exactly who the fuck I am, and being unapologetic about that. That is my responsibility, because I will not preach to women about being their most audacious selves and living their like soft girl millions life and being a rich queen and being free whilst being capped and playing in a box that everybody else wants to put me in, or undercharging when I know that I've outgrown the spaces that I want to sell or the prices that I'm charging. So I think that with being a woman of influence comes the responsibility of both sides of it. You can't just be like clapped and loved by everybody. And I actually have had a lot of clients, I'm sure we all have, that have hired me and been like, when I first found you, you triggered me, I unfollowed you. I actually kind of didn't like you. I was very, and I did the work, and I've done that with people. I've been in spaces and been triggered by somebody and had to do my work, and that is everyone's responsibility. If you want to be in this industry, you got to do the work.
Well, when you were talking about being misunderstood, I wonder, was that ever like a big fear for you? Because where my brain goes when you're sharing that, I'm like, it reminds me of the hero's journey, and that like the obstacle ended up being the way. Whereas something that might have been one of your biggest fears, or being criticized or being fully seen, ended up being the superpower and the catalyst to get you to the other side.
I feel like, I think being a trailblazer, it's like I've been misunderstood my entire life. So I think that one of the things that I had to shed was the chameleoning. I've always been very good at pretzeling myself into whatever people needed me to be, or being in corporate and being like, can you shrink? Everything that I've experienced in the online space, I experienced in school, I experienced in university, I experienced in corporate. Every single misunderstood or being told who I am or being asked to be something different. I think that was not new to me. I think the difference, what's different is the willingness, the comfort in being misunderstood and not having to correct somebody, not feeling the need. You know, there was a time where people would troll me and I would want to like go to die on this hill of like defending myself. And then you get to a point where you're like, what am I defending? And actually, it's like that for me has been the biggest evolution, is like where I'm able to actually like not even feel the need to justify, defend myself to, it's, you know, for some people, they will be determined to misunderstand you regardless of how transparent you are, regardless of how like vulnerable you are. You'll be vulnerable, then they'll tell you that it's performative. Like you cannot win. And so the only person you can win with is yourself. And for me, that's what matters. I'm like, I cannot be judged by somebody else if I'm not judging myself. I cannot be misunderstood by somebody else if I am not misunderstanding who I am. And as long as I show up and do that work without the need to be perfect at that, because I'm a woman, I have hormones, I have bad days, I have kids, sometimes I'm sleep deprived, and so I might have a wobbly day, but it doesn't mean that I am wobbly. And just being that unshakable, like building that unshakable self-worth, I'm like, that's what I'm here to show. Because to your point, it's like, it doesn't matter the strategy. If you are so grounded in who you are, you will figure it out and it will work for you.
Yep. And it reminds me of something that I've really been carrying with me. I'm 41, so I turned the last 2 years since I've been 40 is, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Because sometimes we just can't have both. And for me, it's a daily practice of like, I have to remind, okay, am I trying to be right here? Or can I just have happiness in this moment or joy in this moment? And there's a Keanu Reeves quote where he was talking about, he had gotten to this place in his life that he's like, if you tell me that 2 + 2 = 5, you're right.
Sure.
Like, sure, whatever. Sky's green. Okay. Like, because it doesn't serve you and your genius and your influence and your impact to get in the ring with people who are determined to misunderstand you. And so I think that's really powerful.
I use that one with my husband. Do you want to be right?
I do too.
It works so good. I should probably use it, but he should use it too.
I wanted to say something about the being misunderstood thing because I started working with a nervous system regulation coach. And so this was like a last week thing. Like this was my last week problem is I was driving down the road and I was voice memoing her. And I was like, I feel like they just don't understand. My intentions are so good. And I'm just they just don't. I was like, I think the person that I'm becoming, like she doesn't like anymore. And I was really struggling because it's someone that matters to me. And she was like, you're coming to me with this thought that being misunderstood is wrong. She was like, this is the part of business that is completely natural. Nothing is wrong. And it's like, I think I was just expecting, because as I've grown, I'm like, everybody seems to be liking me and this thing and it's going well.
You're like, I've cracked the code.
I'm like, it's going well. Like we're not getting
until you make any kind of change.
Yeah. And then you change something, or I set a standard or hold a boundary, and then, holy cow. And then I'm like, did I make a mistake? Or it's like, no, you're just misunderstood. And it's just knowing that that's not a problem and it's okay. And the right people and you are going to know that it's the right thing. But it's hard.
That reminds me of the standard piece of whenever I find a moment of resistance, of friction, of just things not feeling in alignment in business life, I have to ask myself the question of, what am I willing to tolerate in this moment? What am I tolerating right now? And it always, no matter what the answer is, it always leads to time to raise your standard. Like whatever this situation is, the reason why it feels restrictive, the reason why it feels unsettling is because there is a tolerance that you are bringing yourself down to. It is time to raise the standard. And so I want to shoot this to you actually, Stacy, because you have been on this evolution of really raising the standard of how you are leading your team, your business, and from that, your family and everything that touches. And I think when we first met, so much has changed in your business. And I know particularly over the last few years, you have really implemented this beautiful model that works for you, that has cultivated $1 million plus months. And you have this well-oiled machine. But what did it take in terms of that tolerance level, in terms of that standard? What did it take for you to actually rise to that?
Oh, there's so many things. And there's so many things you do tolerate for too long, right? Yeah. Client behavior, team behavior, the way you're showing up, the habits you're breaking, or you said you were going to do this, but then you felt bad and you people pleased over here and you did that instead, even though you promised yourself. There's just so many things. I think for me, the biggest piece is I am a people person. I want to build the team. I want to do this with other people. But it's hard because at some point there's always a goodbye. It's very, very rare that everybody gets to come with you. They say that when you double a business, I think it's like a very small percentage of people that could possibly handle that double the size. Well, I had somebody go through 3 doubles in my business, and it blew up with an explosion at the end. And so hard. You're like, I love you. I care for you. Look at what we've done for you. And her version is very different, right? And it's unfortunately like the business keeps growing, and I'm doing my best to up level as a CEO and to be the person it needs. I need the team to do the same. And if you can't, and I'm not even demanding they do hold on, because I'm going so fast and so is the business, that it's like some point we may have to part ways, but we can do it on great terms, right? But it's like, I do need the people on the team that really want to be here for the next edition to buckle down and to have those high standards for themselves and to grow. Because it's like, if I'm the only one growing, the business isn't going to sustain.
Yeah. Are there certain non-negotiables, boundaries that you have when it comes to that?
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to. And I think for me, every year I get stronger with my standards, right? What I used to tolerate 3 years ago, I would never tolerate today. Or, even just things where maybe you're meeting with a client and they show up late, and you just wait and they don't come, and they're like, I'm so sorry, can we reschedule? And you're like, sure, I just waited the whole time, but now I'll book another one. It's like, there are things that I used to do that now we have systems in place where it's like, even reminding them, if you miss tomorrow, she will still be there. Your time is used. There is no reschedule, right? I didn't know to say that or to do that before, or to even enforce the team and say, I know that sounds harsh, but that's the policy, that's the rule. And really, systems and putting those people in place to enforce those systems is actually a really easy way to tolerate less. I'm not the bad guy anymore, right? I have a lot of gatekeepers that get to be the bad guy for me. And I'll tell you, especially with people I serve, business owners, they go, some of them don't love it, but some of them go, wow, thank you for modeling that behavior. I need to be better with my boundaries. And we're just teaching them how to up level too.
Anyone else want to share about that? Standards, boundaries?
My God, I'm just going through all of this stuff with my team. And so it's the Good to Great book. I'm sure we've all read it. Like, I'm finally reading it. Like, what time? It's like, it's 2026. Like, I was like, man, it's a great book. And everybody's like, yeah, Ashley, I'm always a little bit behind. But I came back from a trip and I realized on my team, and actually in my marriage too, like I was tolerating some stuff. And it was so hard, because it's hard to hold someone accountable. And it's actually even harder to say, this is my boundary and it's a non-negotiable. You coming on this side or that one? Yeah. And it's just, Kyle and I had a conversation, 2 of the teammates. It has been like so hard. But like, I felt so free on the other side. Because I was like, the first time, it was so funny. I sat down with Kyle and he was like, I've never seen you this serious. I'm like, I know. I was like, but I really don't want to have a good marriage. I really want to have a great one. And I was like, what we're doing is good. But like, I'm not a level 10 happy, and you're not either. And so we had some conversation, and like, so far the last 2 weeks have been fantastic. But it's like, you realize you just get an autopilot with your team, with your business, with your relationships, with your friendships. You're like, we're just doing the same thing and it's not working. And so the whole, what you are tolerating will continue. Like, that has been my biggest thing in the last 30 days, that I was going so fast growing the business. I didn't realize what I was tolerating until I sat there. I journaled. Journaling has changed my life, but I started journaling and I looked back at the book and I was like, this journal is sad. And it's because of the choices that I'm letting it make. Like, I'm letting it all happen, So this whole boundary thing, I just wish I think I thought, oh, cool, you're setting boundaries. Now I'm like, this is the way to live. And it just took me a minute to get caught up to that.
I love that you said that. You go.
I was thinking because I think when you hold a boundary with somebody and you're elevating at a faster rate than they are, that holds a pretty rough mirror up to them, and they feel not good enough. If Blake and I have ever had a conversation about like our growth, and because he works in the business as well, and if I'm saying, hey, I want us to do this together, it's important to me we do this, and that we both grow together so that we don't just live 2 divided lives, I'm asking you to change. Yeah. And so men especially are interpreting that as, I'm not good enough. Yeah. And then that respect that they need can go down. So to any woman building a business and struggling with that in marriage, it's part of the territory. It comes with it as you level up and have those really honest and really painful conversations as you try to grow with your person or your team.
It had me thinking, when you were talking about talking to your husband and the boundaries and leveling up, I think being in rooms like this, being around other women who are naturally leveling up changes everything. Like, Stacy and I are really close friends, and I'll see her do things and like, ooh, damn, I need to do that. Or she won't even say it to me, but instantly I'm like, I want to show up like that. Or the best relationships are the women that will say it to you.
For sure.
And say like, I see you sliding. I see you, not having the standards that you typically have. And I think the conversations we have and being in the room with each other, and I'm talking about women in business, women making millions where other people don't get it all the time. And so I think that's so important. I also love that you bring up marriage. I think as a female entrepreneur, if you grow and succeed, your marriage is going to change no matter what. And you have to be so careful with that. I know that you put a lot of effort and time into your marriage.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is a daily practice, and especially because John and I have such completely different careers, but both a lot of times creative and entrepreneurial, and for him very artistic, but completely different. And there has to just be, I wouldn't have a marriage without boundaries. I wouldn't have a marriage if my husband's gone filming for 3 months. I've got to figure it out, and I have to take the necessary steps and tools and resources and whatever it takes to figure it out. But I think acceptance and whatever your situation is, like acceptance is the answer to all of your problems every single day. And it's when we try to resist that, that we can really catch ourselves tolerating things that don't really reflect who we are, what we say that we want, and the levels that we know that we're capable of. So I would love to hear from more of you on that standard piece. Like where moments that you have realized, like, I am tolerating some BS right now and no more. And how did you get to the other side of that?
I think, like, for me, most recently, the biggest thing on this, and it goes with capacity. I think, like, you don't learn your capacity when you have capacity. You learn your capacity when you don't have any capacity and shit hits the fan. And for me, I think I knew, again, when you talk about like the speed at which you're growing, and I think when you're moving so fast, it's so easy to overlook, to accept and to tolerate, because you're like, I don't have time to replace this person or to deal with this issue. And it's like those are the times where the longer you ignore it, the bigger the explosion becomes. And for me, I was so funny because I was going to Beverly Hills to film the show, and I was so excited. And a few days prior, a team member who had given me reason to see that there was red flags there, that I was like, it's okay, it's gonna be fine. Let me just like try and make it orange. If I look this direction, it looks a little more orange if I squint. There was a massive situation that came up, a huge integrity issue that was not going to be able to come back from, but it had a huge impact on the business from every level possible, from the level of behind the scenes, client facing, like you name it, it was hitting every single issue that it could hit. And for me, there was, that moment of, there are two choices in this. Like, you choose the convenient option in the short term that is going to feel better right now today, because it's not going to create this like huge loss in every direction and this huge mess that we're going to have to clean up. Or you actually choose to raise the standard at the most impossible, inconvenient moment. And I remember just being like in tears, like, this sucks. Like, this sucks so bad. And I was so excited. When you're on the cusp of like doing something amazing, or you've achieved something amazing, and you have that duality moment where you're like, why now? Why in this moment does it have to happen this week? Could it not have waited another week? But it was such a gift, because by the time I got to Beverly Hills and had the most incredible opportunity to be around amazing women with insanely high standards and experience filming the show, I was like, this is the fucking standard. And that was nowhere near close. And if it wouldn't have happened the week prior, I wouldn't have even had the gift of the contrast. And coming out of it, it's been such a gift. It was not wrapped from the place I wanted it from, or wrapped how I wanted it, but it's enabled us to actually improve the business tenfold and improve the client experience. And much like saying how the clients are always grateful when we raise a standard, my clients watching me navigate that were like, this was worth my entire investment with you. Just seeing the way you handled a very public situation, they were like, this was a masterclass in itself. And so I think, the reminder that it's not always convenient to learn capacity or raising the standards.
And that a similar situation happened to me recently, where it was my capacity between my husband being out of the country working, the kids, moving back into a home, just a lot of life. I was telling a friend, like, I felt like I was drowning in answered prayers, but it was that capacity of wanting all of that I just started to kind of say, like, yes to certain things in the business, just to kind of get it off my plate, not really pausing and having the stillness because I didn't have it. And then guess what happened? Domino effect. Things kind of, and then I'm like, wait, what's happening? Why is this happening? And it's like, oh, because of these decisions that I made 3 weeks ago, because I chose not to slow down and really take stock of what I was saying here. But the gift of that, and the other side of that, is always, now what is this teaching me?
And the craziest thing about that is it's like a 3-second pause.
Yes.
Like, it's not, I think sometimes we think it needs to be some big elaborate, I need a day to myself each week to do. And actually I'm like, if I just shut up for 3 seconds and I just like tune into myself, I know if it's a yes, if it's a no, if it's a hang on, I have a follow-up. And it's literally a 3-second pause or just a little bit of journaling that keeps you tapped into what you actually need to be doing.
And it was a good awareness for me too, because my team knew. My team knew, and I wasn't listening. So they were trying to kind of, and I was like, why aren't you just listening to me? Just do this and get it done. And then it's like, well, shit hit the fan because I didn't, but to me, like, that was a lesson moment of like, listen to the people that you have hired to do their job so you don't find yourself in these situations. What are other instances like that you all utilize? What are those signs for you?
For me, I have like this $100 million Stacy CEO. And when I'm in a bind or it's not convenient, I go, what would $100 million Stacy do?
That's right.
Yeah. Right? Because it's very easy to do quick and easy and convenient. I mean, it feels like it's never convenient.
No, it's never convenient.
You're like, oh, this is not the right time. So to just take a minute, like you said, 3 seconds and go, what would she do? She definitely would not take the easy route right now. She would be kicking herself if she knew, right?
It's true.
So to even just have that person of like, what is your goal? Where do you want to be? And to start to be her now.
Most people, it's the law of resonance, right? Not necessarily the law of attraction. It's be, then do, then have. And I come back to that all of the time when I'm thinking about where we want to go and all the new hats and the person I'm learning to become on the business side of this, and scaling and building team and managing teams, a whole new skill set than what I'm used to. And that imposter syndrome, at the rate at which it's arriving in my life, means we're on the right path. We're growing because we're trying something new constantly. And I'm in new situations of growth constantly. And so for anybody building anything, as often as that comes up, what we call cringe mountain, you're gonna feel everything that you want is on the other side of cringe mountain.
That's amazing.
Because you're gonna feel uncomfortable, but that is a good thing. And so if you're trying to call something into your life right now, you have to really believe it. You have to know that you already are that Stacy, and really act out of that, because that's going to make those aligned decisions to where you resonate and that magnetically comes to you, rather than just like, otherwise your brain will call BS. It's like, no, you're not. You're not there yet. And I heard this quote that I think about probably every day when it comes to influence. And it said, if the light that is on you is greater than the light that is in you, the light that is on you will kill you. It will be the thing that ruins you. And so if maintaining the knowing of who you are, the thick skin, the courage to be disliked, all of it, and knowing that alignment and reconnecting with that gut that you intuitively have been given, that has been given to nobody else, is the most important thing. And so before you go make big life-changing decisions, try to center as much as you can, because it'll save you years of learning and years of hardship.
Adley, do you think that is a big catalyst to something that I see in you? I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I think is really unique about you have been able to, first you didn't come from the online space. None of us did. We all came corporate backgrounds, creative backgrounds. None of us were born into online marketing.
It'll just pop out of the womb, funnel maker.
But what I think is really unique about what you have been able to do is you have been able to create such a beautiful business and success and presence and brand in the online space. But you have also been able to leverage that to do things outside of the online space. You are not confined by the online space. There are people in many other corners of the internet that know who you are, that would never know who anybody from the online business space was. So what do you think is kind of your magic or your superpower to that? Does that have anything to do with what you were just sharing about just being open to hiking that cringe mountain.
It has everything to do with it. And thank you so much for the compliment. I came from music, was well liked, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, people who like it.
Yeah.
And it was me pranking my husband. Very silly stuff during COVID, and the world needed that levity.
Right.
We started creating what they call now cringe and rage bait and watch bait. Because the numbers didn't lie. As a marketer, it was a fantastic experiment in human attention. And the worse the videos were, the more hundreds of millions of views it got. And that equated to a lot of money. And I was fascinated by that because I would make something really heart-led and really mission-minded, and I put it out there and it just totally flop. And I was like, why does everyone want to watch trash?
Yeah.
Okay, but how do we get people, how do we wrap?
As I'm tuning into reality TV.
What's wrong with everyone?
It's psychology, but we want external drama. We don't want our drama. But I was just, as a marketer, I was just studying the retention of this and be like, how do we get really positive messages and really heart-led things into the world? You have to wrap it in a very different container and compel people to watch something they didn't know that they would be interested in. But it was that death to self and being liked into Cringe Mountain. One, to grow a business, and the finances, it was like eating a cockroach. Are you guys not from Oklahoma? But when we were kids, we would say, hey, would you like eat this bug for $5?
Oh, yeah.
Now it was like, would you make this cringy video for $125,000? It'll take 3 minutes. And you're like, yeah, I would. And so would you, had been given the opportunity, you know? But that pivot or that decision, I didn't know if that was in alignment or not, because wasn't proud. It's not like I'm proud of those videos, but I'm proud
Didn't you cook a rack of ribs on a car engine?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And when you first asked the question, you were like, how did you know you first had influence and what did you have to sacrifice? I was like, I learned that a lot of people think you can make cotton candy in a dryer. Oh, no. And I learned that you open yourself up to a lawsuit. But that evolution, for me, it was marketing, and it was learning what makes people pay attention, because there's a giant difference between what people say they want to watch and what they actually
or what they want to
pay
buy
attention
and
to.
what they actually want to buy.
Night
the same
and
thing
day.
goes for offers.
Yes,
the same
they
thing
say
goes
they
for
want one
offers.
thing, what they actually are paying attention to.
Do
and
not ask
choosing.
your audience.
No.
What they will lie to you.
My God.
And you could literally give it, you could pay them for it, like pay them to have it, and they still don't want it.
I'm telling you, that is the best lesson that you can learn. I'm like, curse anyone that told me to ask my audience what they wanted from an offer, and then you go and make it, and then nobody buys it. It's like no.
Or the worst yet, how much would you pay for this? Never ask that
Never ask that question. The worst
Never.
question to
Yes.
ask
Yep.
was.
Someone came to my coaching call and was like, I asked my husband, and like he said he would never click on this ad. And I'm like,
press the ad?
And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, can you grab your husband, put him on the coaching call, and can we just look at the data together?
Yeah.
But it's very interesting.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Well, you know what
if
I've been
have
hearing
that-
lately? Well, I talked to ChatGPT about it.
Oh my God.
Sure.
Oh my God.
The mediocrity sustenance.
That could be a whole
It's
episode.
GPT.
But
When it comes to the bee do have an experimentation that allows you to break certain boundaries. You're never going to know what that is unless you go over Cringe Mountain. Let's try the weird curiosities. You're curious about something, but you don't have a representation for it. You don't have a path, or you
That's
haven't.
a biggie too, because you know,
have
when
to
you're,
try.
especially when you're trailblazing,
Yeah.
you don't. There is no one in front of you often with what we're doing, and so you are taking a leap of faith onto Cringe Mountain, and you're like, I don't know, because no one has done this. For me, that's where that internal light. It's like if if I'm following my intuition around but something is nudging me around doing it this way.
Yes.
Around doing this, even though it doesn't make sense because nobody else is doing it. It's like then I have to follow that regardless of the noise. And I think I stopped looking for seeking advice. You know, I know it's become like that trend on social media around stop taking directions from people that haven't been where you're going. But it's true. I'm like, you have to stop looking outside of yourself, and at some point you have to consult. I used to consult with way too many people before moving on things. And now I'm like, I don't need to, in fact, I probably don't consult enough. My husband's like, what's happening? You're going where? I'm like, I'll be back in a week. Family show. But the thing is now I just have that such trust because not everything works the way I think it's going to. Like sometimes I make something and even now with reels or with whatever, and you think, oh, this is gonna do really well, and then you're like, just kidding, it has 26 and then the thing that you're like, boom, and you just throw up, you're like, okay, yeah, that of course that's the thing that everybody loves. But it's like choosing to not take it personally, choosing to continue to innovate, to create anyway, and to keep climbing Cringe Mountain or just like doing you. I'm like, ultimately, as much as like we have a responsibility as women of influence, my main responsibility is to me, living the big audacious life, creating the stuff that I'm obsessed with, putting out into the world content that I believe in, and sharing the hills that I'm willing to die on, being willing to be wrong, being willing to look stupid, being willing to apologize, being willing to say the wrong thing. And you can only do that when you're being true to like being a woman of influence to yourself first before you even worry about influencing other people.
What does being a woman of influence mean to each and every one of you?
Oh, can I speak on this? It's something else that I think about all the time. I think genuinely in my heart of hearts that every single person that walks this earth and has breath in their lungs is an influencer. I don't care if it's 5 people or 5 million people, because the people that were the biggest leaders and influences in my life when I was a teenager and I was a cheerleader, as my cheer coaches, and they had no influence. Nobody would have called them necessarily a woman of influence, but they influenced me so deeply that you have a ripple effect that we will never have the privilege of seeing how far influence goes. And it happens way before you actually have a platform, way before. And so I think you have to act, you have to be it first. You have to know that you have influence in your actions, to the guy at Starbucks, to the to the guy you almost run off the road. Your actions have a ripple effect you're never gonna have the privilege of seeing, good or bad. So you have to know that early on. And if you honor that and act with integrity, I think that gets rewarded and your platform gets bigger over time. And then you will eventually have the privilege of seeing some of the ripple effect of your influence.
Yeah. And if you're a woman of influence.
Amen.
Like we create the humans. Like we literally bring life into the world. Like what is more influential than that? And
I agree.
You are influencing regardless of platform. You are influencing your kids, your family, you are, and I think there's a misconception, something that I really struggled with as somebody that historically very much struggled to be wrong. Like it was a fate worse than death to be wrong, and apologizing was not easy for me by any stretch. And I think for me, one of the things that I've learned over time is that I'm not going to get everything right. I'm not going to say the right thing. I am going to offend somebody. Maybe it's the British humor doesn't always travel, but sometimes I'm going to have to apologize, or I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to die on a hill, and then I'm going to be like, actually, now I have it because I'm going to change. I'm going to grow and change. And I think for me, it's like, if you are a woman, you are a woman of influence, because women influence way more than we give ourselves credit for, by proxy of the fact that we grow and birth the tiny humans. So for me, it's like the reminder that influence starts in the home and not like on Instagram. Like I'm like, that's great, but like I pay way more attention to who people are. For me, there's no coincidence that everyone here and everyone that I surround myself in real life, I'm very particular around who I'll spend my time with. I love my husband and my kids. I'd happily spend all my time with them. So if I'm gonna get on a plane and spend time with people, it's always the humans that people are like, they are so fucking cool. Like they're such a good person. It's never like, she has 1 million followers. Like that's the least impressive thing about you. And the women that I am around, I'm in awe of because of like what's inside them, not because of what external results that they've created.
Well said.
I think for me, I always think of what do I want to influence them to do? So for me, I want to move people. I want to motivate them. I want them to be more resilient. I think in business, it's one of the best skill sets you can teach somebody is how to get knocked down and to get up and to do it over and over and over again. I think I struggle showing it's hard for me too. So I've been really intentional about sharing like how long certain things have taken, or you didn't see me do this X amount of times. Like the more people think, oh, it's just so easy for her, the more I do a disservice to my clients. I need them to know, no, this is 20 years of progress that you're seeing,
overnight
right?
success.
Yes. Oh, you blew up. It's like, yes, I blew up after 10 years of failing for how long and trying to get it going. But so I think it's like we have so many different ways to influence. It's like really understanding what you want to get them to do. And that's a huge one for me.
Ooh, what do you want to get them to do? That's good.
I think when I think about all the women that have influenced me, like you were saying, and I look at what all of them have, one thing that comes up again and again is they go with their gut. And I just talked about how I love being around women and getting influenced by women. But at the end of the day, if you kind of clear the mechanism, what movie is that? It's from a movie. But anyway, and just get really laser focused on what you want and who you are, you can always go with your gut. Now, I think it takes time. I think it takes reps. I think it takes a lot of mistakes. But at the end of the day, if you can go with your gut more, I think you can influence at a deep, deep level because you're not having a million voices that are telling you what to do. I've noticed that a lot of students that I work with, a lot of the women, they are getting their advice from 10, 20 different people.
And AI.
And AI. Yes.
Even
And
worse.
then they're asking me, why can't I make a decision?
Right.
And if you just narrow the amount of people that you let influence you and you trust the ones who do and you trust yourself more, I think you become incredibly influential.
They've got all these different ingredients and they're trying to make a cake and they wonder why the cake doesn't rise. Or it tastes like crap. Well, you took 19 different ingredients in playbooks.
And it takes courage to take less advice, right, from people and listen to yourself even more, especially because a lot of the women listening are just getting started. So they're like, you had said something, Leanne, earlier about how you trust yourself the most and you'll go with your own advice. But that doesn't happen like on day one, right? Yeah. So I think it's going to take a while, but the more you can ask yourself, well, what do I want more than what everyone else is doing?
Agreed. And then they're calling their part-time CPA who checks their profit and loss once every 12 months. And they're like, what do you think? Oh, Ron said no. I'm like, does Ron know anything about your business? Like what? But it's a lack of confidence. So we think, well, just ask 6 people. But what you said, find a few people that are further along than you. Go with what they say, but to go with your spouse who maybe isn't in this world, who's scared out of his mind what you're doing, right?
Yes.
These aren't the best. Your mom, she's like, what do you do again? These aren't the best people to go to it for advice, unfortunately. But going like when I was getting started, you were somebody where I was like, okay, she's doing what I want to do. What is she doing? How is she showing up? Like that's the kind of person you want to follow, not somebody who's scared with you.
Right.
Yes.
And even understanding how you make decisions. I think that's like a better question. I think something that I realized in coaching is I can give you an answer, but it might not be the right. My best answer is a question. Because so I helped people grow businesses and then they were like, this is great and I'm making all this money and I hate this. And I'm like, why do you hate this? They're like, oh, I don't like this offer. And I'm like, why did we build a funnel around this offer? And actually realizing, and again, like my learning and working with people and helping them scale and then seeing, but now you are the cost because you don't want this.
Don't want this.
And actually getting women, the first question I ask when they come in is like, but what do you want?
Such a good question.
What do you want? And most people
You know
are like,
what
well,
you
what
want.
should I what should I build a funnel around? What do you want to sell?
Right.
What do you want your calendar to look like? What should I charge? What do you want to charge? Like, it doesn't matter what number I tell you or what offer I tell you to put in a funnel. Do not build something. And if you do, that's cool because again, you learn by making I learned by making the mistakes, but actually learning, I think really I've encouraged a lot of my clients of like, ask better questions of the women you're around. Like I'm way more interested in learning the way that you make decisions or why do you think like that? What happened to make you think like that than I am tell me what I should do. Because the ultimate test of self-trust is, can I listen to amazing women that are further ahead of me and then still tune into my intuition and go, but it's still telling me to do this and follow it regardless and accept the consequence of that decision.
And that's resistance that may come.
Correct.
Because I've struggled with this where I'm like, I'm following my gut and then it doesn't go right. And they're like, And I'm like, it will pay off eventually.
Right.
I'm
Because
confident.
it's revealing more. And I think
it's
that's really what to me, influence is very holy. This is where I get godly. It comes from the stars. It is a spiritual evolution and process of trusting that inner knowing and that inner guidance. And with that, that's also why, like, don't go to the hardware store to buy milk. Like the first time I ever invested in a $25,000 mastermind, I didn't tell my husband. Some people would think that was crazy, but I just knew what he was focusing on, where he was at, what he was doing, I didn't need to tell him. Like I'm going to figure.
I definitely don't tell him quite a few things.
I don't tell him 90% of the things.
Right.
It's like he's also not coming to me, for acting advice.
Right.
I mean, it's like
we stay in our lanes.
We stay in our lanes,
Yeah.
and it's like if I need to come to him, and if I want, like I know that I can, but some of the time I'm like. That would be going to the hardware store to buy milk in this instance. Like I can make this informed decision. I don't need his permission. I don't need his, well, do you think this is a good idea? I don't need any of that. Yeah. So I think that that's also something for women to keep in mind that goes back to the self-trust piece is that, and that's even, my husband has said that. He's come on this podcast to say, the reason why I was able to support you along the way is because this is your business. Yeah. Like this is your dream. This is your journey, and you've got to have that. And anytime I try to come in, if I came in to stop you or to even be a soft landing pad, I'm robbing you from that journey.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a big piece too of trusting your own influence and really allowing yourself to have that journey.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to go the opposite of talking about like what does influence mean. I'm going to tell you what influence doesn't mean, because I kind of like made a mistake in this when I was first getting started. Is I realized I was a thought repeater, not a thought leader.
Oh, that's so good.
And I was like, why am I not influential? I'm saying the things.
Guilty.
And it's like,
Guilty.
Right? We're like, Amy said it.
And to the point where you almost feel like, is that mine?
Well,
you
that's
can convince yourself.
That's the reason.
And then you're like, but it's not
That's
mine.
it. And like you cannot have conviction over the not version of your story.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so the moment I realized the reason I wasn't being as influential as I knew I could was because I was trying to do what everybody else is doing. And so Leanne said it earlier. It was like when someone's doing a thing that you feel like is doing well, and we're like, oh, this seems to be working. What I've learned is if you'll just do the polar opposite of that, you'll actually create something, and then people will be like, hey, what you doing? And I'm like, I went with my gut and just tried something. And they're like, what is it? I'm like, the whole thing is like every single one of us in this room have had a moment where we took guidance and then we like literally said, I'm going to try something else. And then that worked or it didn't. And then we still kept going. But I just think being influential is truly being willing to like risk it when nobody else is watching. And here's the second thing I think. This also took me a minute to get to. I feel like I've really grown in the past couple of years. It was like, I'm on this like,
rocket ship
of self-awareness. So I realized the other day there's a difference between self-awareness and self-control. It's like you can be aware of it, but what's the problem? But there was something I realized the other day with one of my clients. They like came to a coaching call and they were like, Ashley, this ad isn't working. This ad isn't working. And I looked at their ad, I looked at their message, and I was like, do you believe what you're saying at all? And it's like sometimes it's like someone has to call it a spade when it's a spade. 100%. And I just wish someone had just told me, like, you're kind of doing what this person is doing, just someone to like put the mirror in front of you. I had something else and I'll come back to it, but
that is it. Like the being willing to tell people the truth.
Yeah. Yes. And can you like hold it? Can you can
you receive it?
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, you don't want to stand out. You're thinking, I want to stand out, so I got to be like all those people that are standing out.
I
then I copy everybody.
I mean, I know there's women in my world that are making, $250,000, $400,000 a year. And we get to this layer of like, oh, we're now here where you don't want to be seen. You've allowed yourself to be seen to this place, but with every new level, there's a new level to grow. And now you're not allowing yourself to be fully expressed here, which goes back to whether it's ads or messaging or funnels. It's all an amplifier. It is just going to amplify what is already there.
Were you the one, I don't know if I dreamt this, but maybe you said this, but it was like, there was a moment where I was like, spending more on ads is like turning up the music on a song that was already bad. Like, it's just louder. It's not better. Like, why is it selling? I'm like, it's still not selling even more now. You know what I mean?
And it's just going to amplify what's already there. If what is already there, if there is unauthenticity, playing it safe, messaging that is not yours, it's not coming from your true voice and your true perspective and thoughts and opinions, or if it's coming from this part of you that is still not you don't feel fully safe to be seen in this way, that's the result that you're going to get. It's not the strategy. It's not the tactics. It's not any of that.
And that's why, I mean, you know, with messaging, it's like when I work with women with messaging, it's like, what do you believe in? Right. It's extraction and then reflection back to them. It's not say this to get that. You can, that's why I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has had people just copy and paste their sales pages, their ads, their copy and their videos. It will feel completely different to the person on the other end of the screen. I think sometimes a lot of women will come into my world and they'll try on my audacity while they figure out what theirs is, right? And I'm like, I get it. Like I understand sometimes that's part of the process.
That's,
like
but you're influencing that.
Yeah, and I'm like, they kind of have to feel into like, how do you know what yours is until you kind of like tap into it? And their version of that is to, but they'll just like repeat what I say or do what I did, and it falls flat. And it's almost like that's how you learn what authenticity really is, because it's like actually part of the problem I think for so many women is we're too close to ourselves to actually know the thing that is different about us, because it's often the easiest thing for us, and it's almost like very difficult for us to even identify that what that is. But with messaging, do you believe? I'm like, what do you believe? What do you do with your people? What drives you nuts in your industry? It's like, actually that is going to produce far more results than whatever I would write. It doesn't matter what I would write. It matters what you believe in.
So here's the hard thing about this whole, like, what do you want? What is your experience? Sometimes I get to work with people and the feedback I'm giving them is you have to put time in something to get good at it, to be able to have this message.
Really?
I know.
It's a shocker, I know.
But it's like, but we want a funnel now. We want ads now. And I was like, you gotta, I mean, all of us have done a thing for a long time.
Yes.
So it's like, I just want, if there's one person listening, this is so possible for you, but just take a minute to get good at something and be willing to slow down to speed up. Because the reason I think we're here is we all got good at something, you know?
Then you'll have something to talk about and you don't have to borrow as much. When I was
you can have real stories.
You'll have real stories. You'll have your own thoughts and experiences that can go on and inspire way more than copying somebody else's neighborhood. It's already built. But I think when I first started making videos, I was given an opportunity when I was coming out of bankruptcy from the music industry, and I didn't have any leverage. I couldn't even use my name, Adley. And so I started someone said, I think you're funny. What if you make these silly comedy videos? And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to film. I don't know how to write. I don't know how to comedic timing, any of that. So I went to Vine and I just started copying literally what everybody else was doing to try to learn that muscle and try it on. Tanked. Every single video tanked. And it reeked of authenticity because it was so inauthentic. Then it all burned down. And all my footage was corrupt one night, and I was crying. I had to have something turned in by 6 a.m. the next morning. And my boyfriend at the time, we were very country, and he was like, why don't you just go get them chickens in the backyard and do something with them? They make you happy. So I went and got my chickens, and I went and I got Bruce Henner. Thought it was a hen, turned out to be a rooster. Ellen DeGeneres, Oprah Winfrey, Shakira, they look alike. And I got them all, and I put them in the bathtub, and I improv a bit that I thought was funny. Turned it in. They were like, what is this trash? And I was like, I'm sorry. Here's what happened. All my footage was gone. I posted it on Facebook, though, because I thought it was funny. 19 million views overnight, grew me 102,000 followers in 24 hours. When I was just my dang self.
Yeah. Someone listening to this is like, so you're saying I need chickens?
Someone is on the way to the local farm.
I'm saying chickens.
I'm saying sometimes
Bill, do you have chickens?
when everything you're trying on somebody else doesn't work.
You're trying too hard. Like, stop trying so hard.
Yes. And you're forced to just be yourself. That's when it will work.
And it's the most liberating feeling of them all.
One of the ways that I did this, like take a moment, was I posted this on Instagram, and nothing really goes as cool as Adley, okay? But the one thing that I did was when I told Instagram that I block my competitors. Like, I mean someone who truly teaches people to set up ads or something like that. But I was realizing you can't make your own thought if you don't like block it for a minute. Like, you need like when I started journaling and when I blocked a few people, I was like, because then you start to question yourself. I'm like, if you will just think, what do I think, and put your blinders on like a racehorse, everything changed, and you can develop your own messaging. You can do your own funny video because you're just having a moment to block. Just stay in your lane for a minute.
It's like, stop consuming, start creating.
Yes.
I just stopped consuming. I was like, I only went on social media, and guess what? My mental health got a lot better too. But I went on social media to create, not to consume. And that's how you tap into your own thought leadership.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Beautiful, ladies. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick little break and come back for our part 2. More to come. So much goodness so far. So stay tuned.